Hi, everybody. Welcome to your weekly call. My name is Lee Honish. I am joined by David Bartels. I am a marketer. David is a broker and a home loan advocate, which means he is the number one mitigation source and helpful resource for everybody working with distressed homeowners. David, tell people more about home loan advocates.
Well, Home Loan Advocates is I would say a network of national real estate agents that are banded together in the spirit of helping people understand what their alternatives to foreclosure are. And that means we help a lot of agents help homeowners and teach them about loan modifications, foreclosure avoidance, and a lot of short sale negotiations. My number, 805-413-8000, or David at homeloanadvocates.com.
And if you would like to learn innovative marketing solutions, please feel free to give me a call. Text me 858-663-2537. If I don't get back to you, please text or go to honish.com, fill out the form. We'll spend an hour. We'll talk marketing and what I feel about the market, which is rather shocking. Let's talk about marketing and what's successful and what's not working to start things off, David. Right now, what is the greatest source of new incoming leads for you?
Well, we're generating a lot of leads via the internet, Facebook, and we're getting ready to expand now to pay-per-click, on Google through our system that we use, which is Ylopo, and it's been going very well. It's like the sky has just opened up. I'll get my fourth listing this week today. She's already told me last night that we'll get it done today, so she can be on the market next week. And so it's like people have been waiting, and now that just conversation about easing restrictions, and when I'm in Southern California, has really spurred people to take some action. And so it's the skies are opened up. Buyer activity has doubled in the last week, and seller activity has increased even more than that, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. And for those of you who don't know, the internet has been the source, and David's put in the backbreaking labor, much like myself, for the people that I work for, of creating and generating clicks and impressions. It's a long-term process. I think people think that I'm going to just open up Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn, and I'm going to automatically generate leads. And it's just simply not how it works. I am constantly, for the last couple of weeks, in fact, I have been testing pieces to see what is more successful. And I'll be perfectly honest, as a giveaway, I truly thought that the I'll buy houses for cash would be kind of the bigger message right now, which it wasn't. By far, unemployment and struggling to make payments are the number one messages that I've tested over the last couple of weeks, because I have to create these pieces, David. What worked for you? What is the highest clicking content that you're using right now?
We're just advertising individual properties. So,
Nice.
well, there's two things. So number one is, I do a frequent video on market conditions, and I did one a week ago, maybe a few days ago, that was really specific about Corona and how that's affecting the market. So that has been getting a lot of traction, so much so we decided to go ahead and boost it, maybe just yesterday or so. And so that triggers phone calls. We also share that with our database, by inserting into emails, inviting them to learn more about what's happening. And a lot of it is just good old fashioned follow up. We've got 4 ISAs that are calling our database, that are calling, checking in, plus the agents are doing that, and that seems to be working very, very well as people are engaged. And probably the most effective thing that's happened is just checking in on people that you've had a warm relationship with. Just check in and see how they're doing. Avoid the conversation of real estate. Let them bring it up, and we've found that to be highly effective as well. And by the end of the conversation, they are volunteering to us what their plans are about real estate. So those are some of the things that we're doing. If you're doing advertising looking for low-hanging fruit, I haven't found that yet. You know, you've got to get the long ladder out. You got to climb to the top of the tree, and you know there's some effort involved. So
Yeah.
it doesn't happen miraculously. I mean, if people are hiring you and think that you're going to generate 20 leads and 4 of them are going to buy this week, then they really understand how that process works. It's a long game, you know, and you know you're filling your pipeline, but 99% of it is long term. You know, buyers are 9 to 12 months from buying anything by the time they get engaged, and sellers are 4 to 7 months really from doing anything. And sellers have been particularly slow during COVID. I mean, last month in our market, 45.6% fewer new listings than April of last year. So, but now we're seeing big surges of listings coming on, and that is still being supported by buyers. There's always been plenty of buyers out there, more buyers than sellers. Now we're seeing a lot more buyers getting active, and as they feel like it's safe to go into the water.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out that that's a market-to-market thing. A great number of people that are on the coaching call right now are out of the LA area. And I would suspect, based on LA's stay-at-home order till July, that's going to have a different effect than, say, with you in Ventura, or me in San Diego, or someone in Orlando in the Orange County region. Everything is regional, so you have to be aware of your trends. How do you stay up on your news to keep yourself current, David?
Well, I'm opening the stuff that I'm getting from the California Association of Realtor that's COVID related, and the local associations that I belong to. And there's been some good stuff. The CAR just yesterday or this morning sent out something on COVID, on specifically for real estate agents. I think the DRE published it, and then CAR distributed it to everybody. So if you're an agent registered with the DRE or CAR, you should receive that in your inbox, and you should read it. I find it interesting, from my perspective, is that the last 3 transactions that we have put in escrow have all been in LA County. I'm right on the border of LA County and Ventura. And so we go back and forth over the county, and they have been overwhelming successes. All of them sold in 3 or 4 days. All of them sold with multiple offers. One sold 75,000 over list. One sold 70,000 over list and didn't appraise. So it ended up, we closed it for 45,000 over list, which was 45,000 over appraisal. And then the other one is closing on Monday, and that's $75,800 over list price. And so there's a massive amount of buyer interest, and they all had overwhelming amount of traffic and offers that drove, and buyers competing for those properties to drive the prices up. We're not having any difficulty even in a more severe lockdown like LA County. So we took some precautions in order to manage the traffic and not have more than one party there at a time and that kind of thing. But it's been a little crazy. It's been a little crazy. I think people who want to buy houses don't really care what their restrictions are.
No, and I've seen that myself. I mean, the number one thing that I generate still for my clients, which I can't seem to turn off half the time, are buyers' leads. And if anything, the numbers are staggering right now. The number of people looking for housing and long-term solutions hasn't gone away. I think it's ultimately causing the market prices to stay the same. What I worry about is prices that are too high. And I've seen this. I don't know how well it or how much it's affecting the residential market. I know in the commercial market and the investing market, trying to find millions and millions of dollars right now for any kind of investment is difficult. Donald wrote, what price point is David speaking about?
Okay, so one listed 625, sold for 7. One listed for 850, sold for 920 and closed at 895. And then one was $1,050,000 and is in escrow at $1,125,800.
There you go. Simple as that. Okay. So we're talking about effective messages, being aware and staying on top of your market, making yourself the expert from an advocacy roles. And I can safely say this for everybody, the number one message by far for engaging actual homeowners is discussing their payment. When you talk about the monster or you talk about distressed properties, I think people just get it in their mind automatically that you're saying a short sale. I doubt there are many short sale on the market or are currently out there when we're talking about this group, but there's still very much distressed homeowners who are worried about making their next payment.
Oh, for sure. I mean, even more so. I mean, there's a lot of confusion around this. I mean, if I were people that are interested, and if I were somebody and I am interested in distressed property stuff, I would really brush up on what forbearance means and how it's being applied, and and be able to explain that to people, because there's a lot of questions. And the reason there's a lot of questions is because the banks have not clearly defined how it's going to work yet.
Right.
They seem to be waiting until the 3rd month to really start to explain. And they don't even know. The reason they're not explaining, because they don't really know yet, because a lot of it depends on what the government is going to do. So reportedly, there's going to be another round of stimulus that's coming, and a big chunk of that is going to go to the servicers to make the forbearance more permanent. So here's what I mean. 60% of loans out there are insured by Fannie and Freddie. So if you're a Fannie and Freddie sponsored, I'm trying to figure out the right word. If it's a Freddie and family owned loan or insured loan, which would include FHA, you're going to get forbearance. That means you don't have to make your next 3 payments, but they're not free. They're just going to tack them onto the end of the loan. And they'll be due either in 3 additional payments at the end or in a balloon note at the close of escrow, or at the end of the term. That's one way. The other 40% don't know. And some of these banks, and by the way, the 3 months could be extended to 6 months or even 12 months by request. So they're going to permit forbearance up to 12 months, but which means you might get a year of not being able to make a payment. The first 3 months seem to be just a straight gimme. All you had to do is raise your hand, need or no need, and they would just grant it to you. The second round is probably going to require some qualification, kind of like a loan mod application, to do that. Now, the 40% of people who are not Fannie, Freddie, FHA, that's a different category. A lot of those banks are saying, we don't know. It could get tacked onto the end of the term. We could do a loan modification for you. We could do a repayment plan, which means you'll pay us those missed payments over the next 6 months or a year. Or what a lot of people are afraid of, and a lot of banks are saying, is that it's going to be due in the 4th month. So if you have a $2,500 a month mortgage payment and you skip 3 months, and then your 4th payment comes up, now you owe the 4th payment plus the original 3, so you got to come up with 10 grand. That's when the challenge is going to come, is that if banks end up doing that, and there are a lot of banks that will do it, okay, because they just don't have any other option. A lot of banks are going to do that, and that is going to force people into some state of foreclosure, and they're going to scramble to do loan mods and other foreclosure prevention methods that we should all be experts on. So those are really the options. And if you can share some insight into what I just shared with you, then you'll be an expert worth talking to.
Victoria writes, so if there's about 14% unemployment, by the way, documented, I'll clarify the 14% unemployment. That's just documented. That means that only those cannot buy, or are we seeing many people that have not been affected by the virus? They are the buyers. I am confused where these buyers are getting their loans, because many lenders say they will not approve of a loan if they are not working.
Okay. Well, first of all, I haven't had, none of my transactions have been impacted. None of my buyers, lenders have been impacted. None of our buyer clients have been impacted. So, but that's true. If you were in the middle of an escrow and you lost your job, you're not going to get your loan and you're going to have to cancel. That has not happened to me yet. That does not mean it's not happening. I mean, I am blessed to work, and it's all by accident. I didn't pick it. I just live here. I to live and work in a demographic that does not seem to be impacted. I don't know of a single person, outside of a younger person who's getting started out, but a established person, somebody that would buy a 600 or 800 or $1 million house that has lost their job and has gone from the category I can buy to I can't buy. Now that means nothing, to the rest of you or to those people where those demographics, may be a little bit different, and there are a lot of people that are impacted. So we're just not seeing the impact. The other thing that we're seeing is that, and the people that seem to be impacted seem to be people who can really benefit from unemployment. So you've got the state who's paying what their normal fees are, and they're even doing it to unemployed people. I mean, to independent contractors, which are also business owners, okay, that who typically wouldn't be eligible for unemployment. And the federal government is supplementing that by $600 per week. So, for instance, my assistant, who's got a couple of kids who were working part-time jobs at in fast food, and those restaurants closed. One of them was in a mall, and the food court was a shopping center, and the food court obviously shut down, and so lost his job. And he went from working 20, 30 hours a week at whatever minimum wage looks like nowadays, and now on unemployment, I think I heard $2,800 a month. So I think the unemployment from the state is 400 something a month, and the unemployment from the feds is an extra $600 a week, and which is more than what they would have made at their job. It's obscene that is happening, but a lot of people are better off. I mean, my biggest concern about the economy is that there are a lot of people who are going to have the opportunity to go back to work, and they're not going to want to right away because they make more money or the same money from unemployment, and they're going to want their unemployment to run out before they go back to work. It's crazy time. We've never seen anything, quite like it. So, we just got to be practical, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. And remember, this is market to market. I can't stress it enough for everybody. You should have an app on your phone that has your local and or county available news, so you can keep up on what the trends are. In San Diego specifically, they're looking at the impact of migrant workers who come over the border every day that aren't available to come back over the border, first of all. Second of all, there's no jobs to come back to. Third of all, nobody knows whether or not those jobs will be there because of the lack and the breakdown of communication in general based on everything that's going on. I think LA County is going to be a very interesting platform, since they're going to keep a lockdown in order until July. It just impacts so many businesses, and it's going to put so many businesses out of business. Wow, that doesn't even sound right. Businesses out of business. Yeah, I guess it is. But the reality is, you have to be the master of your niche. And if your niche is going to be distressed, then you need to know about forbearance. You need to know how to market to it. You need to know how to create the content for it. You need to be the expert for the area that you're marketing to. A message in San Diego might not be the same as LA County or the same as Ventura or Florida or New York for that matter. New York is a completely different market at the moment. So you need to specialize, localize, and create content directly to those situations and get the message out. I mean, I don't know what you guys are doing that is supporting you outside of making whatever or getting whatever payments you're getting. But I know this after having a discussion with an escrow company this week, the numbers are simply down. People who do 1 or 2 transactions every couple of months, or people who even do 1 transaction per month or live kind of by that vicarious referral system or just pick up listing, they're struggling and suffering right now, David. They are literally, based on the numbers that I've heard, those people are really suffering at the moment.
Well, they should call me. I'm hiring real estate agents with a salary plus commission. So, hoping to get some of these guys that do a handful of transactions a year or less and put them in an environment where they can do 2 or 3 a month.
Well, how do they get a hold of you, David? Shamelessly plugging yourself.
Oh, well, I couldn't resist. Sorry. They would call me at 805 for that, 805-379-3300, 805-379-3300. And I'm having conversations with agents all over the state of California. So we are rapidly expanding.
That is a great discussion. And no, there's no such thing as shamelessly marketing. No such thing. The only mistake of marketing is not marketing. And it's like me doing a radio show and sticking myself. I've been doing radio quite a bit lately for whatever reason. Could be the fact that I'm a former banker and everybody keeps asking me, really, the bank is going to take advantage of the information? Yeah, they are. Yeah. You think? I'm getting tired of saying the words, yes, it's a stated deal. What do you mean it's a stated deal? They're not going to check it? Well, I can't confirm or deny that. I always confirm either doctor, attorney, lawyer, CPA, mom, dad, whoever you want to talk to. But the reality is, you think we have time for 14% of our portfolio to be double checked on what you submit on an application? Please. I can't even imagine the deluge, which is worse. It means it's being, here's the truth for you guys to understand about forbearance agreement and loan mods right now. The sad reality is it's probably the bulk of the work is being done in call centers in foreign countries with really sensitive information, which to me is just unreal to even think about. We, at least when we were at IndyMac, and I realized we were a sketchy proposition. Our call center was out of Indiana or some godforsaken hellhole next to a feeder pond in the middle of nowhere. But it was US based. The only thing that they took out of state was actually reminder calls. But the actual, the next tier was US based and under control of IndyMac. They didn't have third parties. I realized that Wells, Chase, and B of A can't do that. So we're so primed to have a data breach with this much crap floating around and people being taken advantage of. I cannot stress the importance of being an advocate, working the monster system, working and putting content out, putting your name out in your area, rinse, repeat, do the cycle again. It's just, to me, it seems the simplest thing you can do right now. Is it going to produce right now? It might. I mean, really, the best thing out there right now, if you're in just a complete hurry and need a deal, are generally buyers because they look like they're in a frenzy for some reason. Probably because they all think that they're going to qualify for 0% interest rates that don't actually exist. The other impact I want to talk about is the refinance market, David, because they did drop the rates on refi. I know this from talking to mortgage broker friends. It's a feast situation for mortgage brokers right now. It's almost a slam dunk. Refinances are through the roof. So that industry isn't hurt all that much, and they're not looking long-term. They're looking short-term at just refinance. And again, we're going back to that 2010 model of, well, here's what we learned in 7. We're not going to move as frequently. and I think the reason I'm bringing this up is we're looking at a prime opportunity in the market where it triggers that cause people to sell. That's all this is. When you break down the mathematics and the understanding of any marketing, I don't care if it's pizza or if it's a gym or if it's a lawn service for that matter, what is the trigger that makes people take action? And real estate just has very apparent ones. And we're standing in the middle of a trigger situation. And I completely get that. But let's talk about the refinance market. You've talked about this before, that the properties that have come online haven't really decreased all that much. But have you seen a lot of refinance activity out in the Conejo?
I'm hearing about it. I mean, obviously, I don't see that much of it, but like you, my lender relationships tell me that there is a lot of that activity going on. I also observed that, based on what you're saying, is that the numbers would be much higher, except the banks are holding those rates up artificially high because the volume is more than they can handle. So they're, even though the treasuries would support refinance rates under 3%, they're still hovering mid to upper threes, and banks are using that as kind of a governor, if you will, to regulate the deal flow in their pipeline. Purchase rates are actually better right now than that, but yeah, and they're running at, and it's complicated by the fact that the banks are running at slower speeds because they don't have people, in the office, and they're working remote, and so things are just going much more slowly. But that should continue for a long while. There doesn't look to be any indication that rates are going to come up. They should go down.
Right, as they should. And this is where the conspiracies fall in of, well, we're just trying to break the Fed. Well, no, that's not how that works, but it's cute that you guys all think that the coronavirus is part of a grand plan to take down the Fed. The Fed's job is to do exactly what it's doing at this moment, which is to stabilize the economy with the money flow that's coming in. And the money is clearly in the refinance. What I'm intrigued by literally all of this, examining it from the outside, or somebody who actually discusses it from a mitigation standpoint, or even looks at it from a marketing standpoint, I would be very interested from a marketing standpoint to look at the number of HELOCs that are being originated for people who didn't go after either forbearance agreements at the beginning, or at least had the foresight to know, look, we're going to need money, we're going to be in this for a while. I would really be interested in what the HELOC market looks like right now, if it even exists in the same capacity that it does. I know that HELOCs are still out there, but I would be very interested to examine the HELOC market and what their impact has on the market, because you have to constantly look at these trigger points. I mean, I'll keep saying it. Expired is not a trigger. Expired, canceled, those aren't triggers for someone selling their house. Those are byproducts of people that are already trying to sell their house. You have to look at creating new clientele lists by either, I've said it a million times, either people that are having difficulty making their payments, which we call distressed, probate, or people going through a divorce. Those are your three basic triggers. I mean, I've heard the whole downsizing, but I don't know how you purchase data on people downsizing, which to me is the same as having difficulty making your payments or not having a need for a property. You have to really go into the business, and I say this for everybody listening, you have to go into the business of understanding marketing for going after what you're going after. I don't care if you're a mortgage broker, an investor, a real estate broker, it doesn't matter. What is your prime target going to be? And the answer I constantly get, David, is I just want listings. Well, it doesn't work that way. It just, what do you specialize in? What is your best client route? Where have you gotten your most business, and why aren't we attacking that data point? And again, this group is designed on one very specific data point of going after distressed homeowners, and we're smack dab in the middle of a distressed market. I mean, standing dead center. in the middle of a distressed market. And I don't really see people wanting to engage with homeowners because, well, they're taking a forbearance agreement and trying to keep their house. How different is that than people taking a loan mod and trying to keep their house when they're not able to make their payments, even when they have a job or don't have it? There's no difference in the market from 3 months ago distress to right now. The only difference is there are a different set of options with what the bank is offering to keep them afloat. That's the only difference I see in the distress market at the moment. It's just what the banks are offering. But the reality is, this is still very much a very basic data point. People are not able to make payments. What I think makes the forbearance market unique was the first round in March. Most of those were 90-day forbearance agreements. So you're looking at people that in June and July are going to have difficulty hitting those balloon payments. It wasn't until mid to late April that they were talking about tacking them on the back, and it wasn't even until recently when they've even amended. They're on their third or fourth amendment of how Freddie Fannie family type loans are going to be handled. And that's completely removing the secondary market, which was picking up the slack for everybody who had to do some kind of a partial stated income deal, or even let's just talk Quicken Loans. Quicken Loans is not one of the big three. That's a private company. How they handle their business is how they want to handle their business. And they handle a lot of the market these days, and companies like that. So I will be very interested to see what June and July does for the default market. Do I think they're going to foreclose? No. Federal government's made it very clear that nobody's getting evicted and nobody's going to get foreclosed upon in the immediate future. Probably for this year would be my general guess. If I were talking from a marketing perspective, the thing that I would talk about, and I'd ask you about this, David, it would be about and we've got to talk about this, the pain point. What are you going to do when you owe 3 to 6 months of payments?
Right.
That seems to be the most logical approach. And I know that people wince at that, but the reality of getting people to take action is first demonstrating, it's just like doing a webinar or any kind of marketing. What is the problem? The problem is you're going to owe 3 to 6 months, X amount of dollars, and here are your set of solutions. Which one of these makes the most sense? And now we're back to alternatives to foreclosure yet again, David. At some point, this is all going to boil down to the same basics that we've discussed repeatedly. What are the alternatives to foreclosure?
True story. So,
there you go. David, tell people more about how they can get a hold of you.
Well, if you want to chat about distressed properties, you would reach me through our Home Loan Advocates Company, which is 805-379-3300. I'm David at homeloanadvocates.com. If you want to talk about real estate and opportunities to grow inside an exciting version of real estate, then you'd reach me at 805-379-3300.
If you would like to find out more about how to get creative, unique marketing into social media for yourself, or to learn more about Monster Marketing, call me. My name is Lee Honish, 858-663-2537. Send me a text or go to honish.com, fill out the form. Happy to spend an hour with you and talk about unique marketing solutions to help you generate leads today.